In the summer of 2014, Neymar Jr. entered the World Cup in Brazil as the definitive face of the tournament. At 22 years old, he was performing at the peak of his athletic ability, scoring 4 goals in 5 matches and moving his nation closer to a championship on home soil. During the quarterfinal against Colombia, that momentum stopped. In the closing minutes of the game, defender Camilo Zúñiga jumped into Neymar's back, driving his knee directly into the base of the striker's spine. The response on the pitch was immediate. As teammate Marcelo called for doctors, Neymar realized he couldn't feel his legs. He was immobilized and rushed off the field on a stretcher while the match was still finishing. In one moment, the career of the world's most promising young player was put in doubt. The hope of a host nation turned into a medical emergency as Neymar was transported to a hospital in Fortaleza. At the hospital, tests confirmed a fractured L3 vertebra. The injury was severe enough to immediately end his participation in the World Cup. This 3D medical model isolates the L3 vertebra, which acts as a central structural pillar for the lower back. A fracture here compromises the spine's ability to support the weight of the torso, making the physical demands of professional football impossible. However, the diagnosis came with a terrifying caveat. Doctors informed Neymar that if the knee had landed just 2 centimeters to the side, the impact would have severed his spinal cord. That tiny measurement was the only thing that prevented permanent paralysis. Had the impact shifted slightly, Neymar would have spent the rest of his life in a wheelchair. The distance between global stardom and a life-altering disability was functionally microscopic. It revealed how quickly the physical foundation of an elite career can be threatened. Neymar later described the following days as his darkest week. Confined to his home and unable to move, he watched with his family as Brazil was eliminated from the tournament in a historic 7-1 loss to Germany. Recovery began with a 6-week period of total rest. He had to wait for the fractured bone to naturally fuse back together before he could even attempt light physical activity. Once the bone stabilized, he started a specialized rehabilitation program. The goal was to rebuild his core strength and spinal stability so his back could once again endure the high-impact collisions of European football. This was more than a standard recovery. It was a complete physical and psychological effort to prove his body was no longer compromised. He returned to Barcelona for the 2014 season, joining Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez to form one of the most effective attacking trios in the history of the sport. Neymar didn't just return, he dominated. That season, the trio scored 122 goals, leading Barcelona to a treble that included the Spanish League, the Domestic Cup, and the Champions League title. He followed this success by captaining Brazil at the 2016 Rio Olympics. He scored the winning penalty kick in the final, securing the nation's first ever Olympic gold medal in football. The Olympic victory served as the final evidence that his recovery was complete. His fractured vertebra had healed, and he was once again playing at a level that could change the history of the game. In August 2017, Paris Saint-Germain triggered the release clause in Neymar's contract, initiating the most expensive transfer in sports history. This bar chart shows the scale of the deal. At €222 million, the transfer fee was more than double the previous world record, effectively setting a new financial standard for the entire soccer market. The timeline creates a strange contrast. Only 3 years had passed since a doctor told Neymar he was 2 centimeters away from a wheelchair. Now he was being valued as the most expensive human asset in sports. This valuation changed the narrative. While his medical history remained a topic of discussion, the fee represented a massive financial bet by PSG that his body was durable enough to lead a multi-billion-dollar project. His tenure in Paris was productive but difficult. He won 14 domestic trophies, yet he frequently missed key matches due to recurring ankle injuries and a major ACL tear. Neymar later called his time at PSG a roller coaster. He reached the peak of his individual career in France, but he also struggled with the reality of being unable to finish multiple seasons due to his health. In 2023, he transitioned to the Saudi Pro League, signing a contract with Al Hilal worth a reported €300 million. Throughout his career in Europe, Neymar was fouled over 1,000 times. Every collision tested the same body that had nearly been paralyzed in 2014. Ultimately, Neymar's career is defined by his persistence. He survived an injury that nearly ended his ability to walk, and spent the next decade repeatedly returning to the pitch to prove he could still play at the highest level of the sport.